The circumstances of today and the difficulty of hiring people reminds me of a time in the middle 70s that I was a store manager at Tip Top in Calgary. And to give you a bit of context, in those days, Calgary was experiencing one of its many oil booms, and it was growing by a multiple of 5 over that decade. It went from about 100,000 to 500,000 citizens. And because of the oil boom. And the difficulty of that was everybody was coming to work in the oil business and nobody was coming to work in retail. And so one of the things we did is my boss in those days was a regional manager, and our habit was that about every 2-3 months we'd take a walk through the mall, as retailers do. And in this particular case, what we'd be doing is looking for, or I had to point out the 2 best salespeople in the mall that weren't working for me at the time. And so what that meant is I needed to have a kind of a relationship with these people and bump into them at coffee or have lunch or informally and casually. And the goal of this always was that when a need arose that I had kind of a bench or kind of some folks that we could initiate and say, hey, we're looking for somebody. Do you know anybody? And lo and behold, we were actually hoping they might step up. So today, our circumstances are much the same. And what I see business owners doing is they only recruit when there's a need. And usually that means there's an emergency. And the other part of this is if you turn your back to 2008 or 9 or 10, when last we had a recession, we worked damn hard to find clients. It was very, very difficult. There was a mood of, caution, and there was no money, people were saying. And so it was very difficult. And we worked very, very hard to look for clients. And today, the reverse is true. It's easy to find customers. They're almost banging down the doors. Maybe there's an exception for you, but for most businesses I work with, customers is the easy part. The hard part is recruiting. And yet we don't do 1/10 of the effort that we used to do back in 2008 as it relates to recruiting. And if we even did half of what we did, the effort that we applied in 2008, we would change entirely the results we were getting from recruiting. So, lots of business owners, what they're doing is they're posting an ad on Indeed, and that's it. Well, that's not even table stakes today. I could show you a poster where McDonald's is offering you a free iPhone after 6 months of successful employment. That's table stakes. And you're just posting an ad on Indeed. Today, we have to have 10 lines in the sea. 10 different strategies, Indeed, Facebook, present customers, present employees, past employees, any form reference that we can get. And not the least of which is we ought to have a recruiter. And they're easy to find on things like Upwork, and that recruiter ought to be developing a bench for us. And what I mean by that is that that you've got relationships with people in your industry and your areas of expertise who are maybe working for competitors, or, even in the case of health practitioners here in British Columbia, there are 200 vacant physiotherapy jobs at the moment. And my hunch is there's lots of people in Winnipeg that would love to live in British Columbia because the lifestyle is better. Not all of them. Some of them think of our housing prices and shudder at the thought of that. But there's, people in other parts of Canada. So how can we get recruiters to find these people and initiate some conversations so that when something opens up, we have some people that we've warmed up a relationship and we've got something going. So the lesson of cruising the mall is now we cruise kind of the equivalent of cruising the internet or cruising LinkedIn or cruising, trolling maybe Facebook, to identify people that could be great employees of ours, and that we pre-establish a relationship so that when someone leaves, it doesn't create an emergency, a fire truck at the door. We've got a backup, we've got plans, we can have people in place that can help us and step up, and what could be a 3-month crisis turns into a 3-week project. So my question for you, my challenge for you, Ms. or Mr. Business Owner, is do you have a bench? Do you have a backup team, a farm team of people that are vying at the opportunity to work for you?